And welcome back to day 2 of the Global Extra Conference. And joining me today is Anesio, NATO, and our moderator Zahid, who is having some technical issues. So hi Zahid, can you hear me?
Hey, yes, I'm hearing you.
Yes, awesome. Well, then I will give it over to you to moderate, and I'm going to leave again. Goodbye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
okay, bye. Hello,
Hi, Zaid.
how are you?
Fine, thank you. Should I begin the presentation?
Okay,
So, well, my name is Anesio. I'm going to present you today challenges in implementing XR in business and how to overcome them. The idea here is to help you when you begin to implement XR solutions in your company and give you some tips on how to overcome some problems and issues that you might find along the way. So my name is Anesio. I'm co-president, sorry, of the Vlara Association here in Portugal. I'm also a XR business expert at Siemens, and I was a co-curator of the Techstar Startup Digest from Techstars. I've organized it in the past the Startup Week in Lisbon Immersive Tech event, and I was a co-founder of the XRBR, Brazilian Association of Professionals of Extended Reality. The idea today is to talk about the challenges in implementing XR in business and how to overcome them. Once again, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for following this event. And this is how the content will be shared with you today. So I'm going to do a brief recap of the last year's presentation. And if you want to know more, you can take a look at YouTube to see the other recording. I'm going to talk about the do's and don'ts of successful corporate use cases. And then I'm going to talk about the challenges of implementing those XR solutions. I'm going to talk also on how to overcome them and talk a little bit about evangelizing, which would be one of the solutions to help and support you on implementing those uh, solutions and experiences in your company. So to begin with, let's talk about the major key uses of corporate applications. So I really enjoy and really like to summarize those experiences in those five different areas. So we do have simulation and training, we do have remote assistance, we do have team collaboration, marketing and sales and product designs. If you think of all the experiences that you're going to find in the market, available in the markets for company use, these five are the main areas that we are used to qualify or classify the experiences and applications as well. So this would be the most important classifications. And let me talk a little bit. What do you need in order to to implement those solutions or create experiences with XR? So the most important thing that I think is you should define your goals. So before buying equipment and taking decisions on higher services or buying licenses, the first thing you should do is define your goals. What you want to do with that solution. One important thing is not every process or not everything that you want can be resolved with XR. So first of all, define our goals, define and understand what you want to achieve when you finish the implementation of that XR process, project, POC, or whatever you're trying to implement with extended reality. And just to be more clear about that, when I mean XR, it's an umbrella term for augmented reality and virtual reality as well. It's always good to remember for those who are the first comers in this kind of subject. After defining your goals, what is important to do is target your audience. You have to understand who is the person who is going to use or that experience. This is really, really important because not everybody likes, wants, or is fit to use XR solutions or XR equipment. One thing that is really, really important is that the person should be able to use that headset in the head and must be able to like new technologies, to understand new technologies, understand the challenges of using that kind of equipment. So that it's really important to understand who is your audience and if they fit this kind of solutions, this kind of equipment. Develop your own content. And what I mean by that, uh, sometimes when you think about hiring a training solution, for example, you have to understand that you're going to hire a service to develop an experience, but you should have a content of the training. What do you want people to train? What do you want your employees, your team to be trained about? So core content of that experience should be developed by you. Otherwise, when you hire a company to develop that kind of experiences, they won't have any sufficient material to develop the experience. And then you will spend more money to develop also the content that you're going to use in that experience, for example. So what is really important here is before hiring any kind of company, studio, or something like this that is going to develop or even a team that is going to develop your solution, is really, really important that you have your content ready to be transformed. Imagine that you have already the content, and again, talking about a training solution for virtual reality, imagine that you have already the content ready in paper, in videos, in images, or something like this. This is going to be the base for the VR solution that's going to be developed. So develop your own content instead of hiring someone to develop that. If you can't develop your content, then you should hire someone to develop the content, and then after that, you should hire someone to develop the VR or AR or XR experiences that you are looking for. And connected to that, it's important to research about the fact that you should understand if you have to hire someone as a part of your team to develop that kind of experiences, or if you should hire a service, or someone to develop your service. This is really important because it will depend on the kind of solution that you want, the experience that you want. And let me explain a little bit more. Think about something that you need to update with a regular basis. Like, for example, a training solution that needs to be updated at each 6 months. Imagine that the solution that you have hired needs to have someone all the time developing this kind of content to get to have the experience updated. Here you have to evaluate if it's best for you and for your pocket to have someone inside your team doing those kind of developments and updates, or if it's okay for you to pay for that same company who has developed that experience, they pay for them at the regular basis to update that kind of content. So you have to evaluate not only the cost of having someone in your team developing that, but also the cost of managing that person, that developer on your team, and if you do have the skills to manage some kind of that kind of professional. So this is really important because sometimes you hire someone for your team who is really specialized for doing that kind of development. But if you don't have the enough material to give to that person to develop, it won't be useful. So the person is going to be waiting for material, waiting for the right condition to begin to develop that experience. And if you don't have that, that person is going to leave because developers like to develop. They don't like to wait a lot of time to do something about this. So in that point, you should evaluate if you need someone inside your team or someone from another team developing those kind of services for you. And the most important is approve your budget. And this is one another important thing here because I've seen some projects failing when the budget part comes to an end. So the problem usually is the teams don't understand the full effort to develop those kind of solutions. So the money goes out in the middle of the project. And then when it's not ready and you don't have enough budget to go to the end of the project, you have a huge problem because most of the times you won't be able to get more money, more funding to finish that solution, and then you will have an incomplete solution that sometimes doesn't work for that purpose. So it's really, really important to understand where it begins, how much it costs, and when it's going to end. Because you have to be sure that the money will come to the end, so it will support you through the project until the development, and then when you deliver the project at the end. So it's not only a matter of approve your budget, it's a matter of also understanding the size of the budget and how deep your pockets needs to be to develop XR solutions. Now let's go to the don'ts part. So this is something that you should not do when implementing XR experiences in your company. One is, again, connected to the last one, is be aware of all the costs involved in the implementation of a project. Remember, if you're implementing an AR or VR experiences, you do need to have equipment connected to that solution. So if it is a VR solution, you will have to have VR headsets in the company so the users can use it and then understand and use the experiences. If you're building an AR, augmented reality experiences in the company, you will have to have mobiles or tablets for people to use that kind of experiences that you are developing. And not only that, You will have to have the whole infrastructure needed to connect those devices to the internet. You will have to have like electrical conditions to connect and recharge those equipment. You have to be aware of all the costs related, not only to the development, but also for the use of the solution. So this is really, really important as well. You have to understand about data privacy. Data privacy in this case is really, really important because there are some kind of materials and data that can be used inside virtual reality headsets or mobiles as well. And what is important here to understand? What kind of information are you sharing in the experiences that you are developing? Are those information restricted to the company? Should those informations be only used inside the company or it can be used outside? This is really important to understand because some headsets can't promise to deliver to you data privacy and safety in the way that you can uh, keep the information inside your company. So this is really, really important to understand what is the flow of the information coming from those applications that you are using, and where is the information going to. If you're developing something that should be classified and only use it inside the company, you have to do a deep research on that because it is a really, really important topic when you are developing and using the experiences that you developed before. Safety is important if you're using the equipment in a factory, for example. So again, you have to have an overview of not only the development of the solution, the experience, but also from the usage part. Remember that if you're in a factory, probably there's going to be a noisy environment, and the person who's going to use the headset will not see what's happening in front of them, but also will not hear anything because it's a noisy environment. So you have to develop a solution thinking about the user experience, thinking about how the person is going to use, because sometimes if you put a headset in the head of a person who's going to a hazard place, you're going to have a problem of safety right there. Usability, it's also connected to the safety part as well. So not only to safety, but at the end, usability here is really, really important because if you develop a solution, and this again very important, be mindful of the person who is using your experience. And be mindful that the person that is using that experience is not the same, might not have the same instructions or understanding of technology as you do. And what I mean by that, you have to be mindful about the limits of graphical display of those equipments, not only the headsets, but the mobiles and tablets as well. So you can't and you shouldn't build experiences with a lot of content showing at the same time, for example. You can't develop a solution with a lot of texts coming and information coming and audio coming and video coming at the same time. The person is going to be confused about the experiences. And when people do get confused about that, they stop using the experience. They just say, hey, this is not good enough. And you have to remember that this person is important stakeholder as you are in this part of the process. Because if you develop something for someone to use in the factory floor, for example, and if this person doesn't like it or doesn't use it because he or she doesn't understand because you have a lot of information coming to their side, they won't like it and they won't use it. And if they don't use it, you probably will have a big problem in your project, in your development. So you have always to think on, and this should be a complementary information for what they are doing in the field. Think about the usage of that and think how they are going to use this in their life. Think always about the return of your investment. This is really, really important because sometimes some of the experiences that we are seeing on the field, were developed by an innovation funding. This is really, really interesting. This is really, really good. But you have to be mindful that sometimes that funding doesn't come two times. It only comes one time, and then you will have to get funded by the process that this solution is going to be used at. So be mindful about the return of the investment because you will need someone to pay for that experiences. You will need someone to pay for that application to use to get the money back so you can reinvest in the further development of that same solution, and then you can go further developing even more. If you're not worried about this, you're going to get money for only for the first time. You're going to develop something. You're not going to be worried about KPIs, which is really, really important because if you don't if you don't have enough data coming from your application, you can't justify if the process is better now or the it's returning more time or more money of that process that you're investing on. So it's really, really important to be mindful about the return of the investment. And to do that, you have to log all the KPIs that you can, define and log all the KPIs that you can from the usage for your clients, customers, or colleagues. Now let me talk about some challenges, and that's what we are here for. So the challenges when implementing those solutions. So one, you have to have use cases. It's really, really important that you, before uh, trying to buy something or hire something, you have to choose which use case you are going to use extended reality experiences or applications. And then you have to think, do I really need a headset for that? Do I really need to use augmented reality or virtual reality for that? And this might sound strange in this kind of a presentation and solution, but the reality is that sometimes we try to implement those kinds of technologies in places where they are not needed. And this is a problem. This is a future problem that you're going to have because you're going to have a lot of investment of time and money in equipments and applications. And then in 6 months, you will see that all the effort that you spent on doing that was not needed because the process is going to run smoothly without those kind of applications. So you have to think really, really hard if XR is really necessary for that kind of solutions. And then in that case, I recommend that instead of trying to transform your process in a process with XR, I think that you should understand really, really deep the processes and see which part of that can use XR solutions. Also, you have to think about, do I need XR for the whole process or just for this part or just for another one? So think about where you're going to implement and find those use cases because this is going to be a better way to implement that. You have, as I mentioned before, you are going to find safety and data privacy problems because most of the headsets that are available today in the market, they cannot tell you exactly where the information is going through when you open any information inside your headset. So unless you are working offline, sometimes that kind of information, that crucial information or critical information that you have in your company can't be used with a headset. So this is something that you really, really should understand well by doing two things. One is looking for your data and understanding how critical they are, and the other one is looking for the market and taking a whole look for which kind of headset you can use that is not going to harm your data privacy and safety as well. Another problem that you might find in the way is about logistics. Depending on where your company is, might be hard to find a place to buy headsets. And this is something that's needed to be think. um you need to think this about globally. For example, if you do have a company that is running in many different countries, for some of them, or even at most of them, You will find, for example, Amazon as one of the places or stores where you can buy those headsets. But if you are thinking about have a relationship with a reseller, this could be also interesting as well because the resellers can guarantee to deliver in a lot of different countries. So again, this is something that you have to think when you before develop and spending all the money that you process to the investment in this project. Because if you don't think about it, you will have a problem afterwards when you have the solution but you don't have the equipment to use that in a different country. Think that some countries had a problem with taxes and the cost of the equipment will double or triple due to taxes and something like this. So this is something that you should also be mindful, the logistics to deliver the headsets to your colleagues or clients all over the world. Again, talking about the return of investment, the challenge here is to keep all the development part inside of the budget that you set in the beginning of the project. For doing that, you have to measure using the KPIs as well, but also you have to think and build the way that you want to have that money back after the project is delivered. So think about the return of investment because this is one challenge that you're going to have when you see, for example, that you are not going to deliver one feature when the money comes to an end, and then you will need more money for the second phase of that project. And then when you are going to ask for more funding for that second phase that was not planned before, you will probably have to show some KPIs proving that you can get some more money because you're going to have some more money in a process from a client or from an area, different area, because you could measure what you're doing over there. And then this is totally connected with this funding. Again, it's not the I wouldn't say that it's not the best project to think to build and develop and keep some application alive only with funding from innovation, for example. You have to get money from clients. You have always to build something looking for incoming after it is ready. Because if you only think in the initial funding, you might have a problem if you want to improve your experience, your application. If you want to build more features and develop more features to that application, you probably had a problem asking for more money if you don't have enough information from the past. And let me talk now on how to get ready for those problems that you're going to find and how you can overcome them. One is identify, and this is connected to the use cases, right? So identify the use cases in your company, in your client's company, or wherever you're developing for. So you have to identify the best use cases and the most suitable ones where you can get that and apply XR over there. After you find it and you identify that the process, the use case, invest on that. And by invest, I mean take some time to understand what exactly how that use case is, what it works, what are the outcomes of that process, what are the outcomes of that project that you want to invest and use that. So take some time to understand and study really, really hard so you can understand the best way where you can improve XR over there. And after that, promote, and by promote, I mean tell everybody, if you can, of course, in the company that you are doing something related to that process, to that use case. Because when you do that, you will be able to see that some other colleagues or some other units are probably have the same issue, use case, or problem, and probably they are going to take a look and see, hey, this is something that we can do as well. So let me take a closer look to the XR solution that you are proposing over there, and then we can implement in my team, in my area, in my problem as well. So this is really important. Understand, identify the problem, invest to understand a little bit more about the problem and then promote that you are trying to use XR there to resolve that situation. Then understanding the target and defining the persons who are going to use is really, really important because, as I mentioned before, sometimes the persons that are going to use these, and not only the person, but the environment as well, are not fit for a XR headsets or AR headset, AR tablets or mobiles. Imagine that there are some places that you don't have Wi-Fi signal over there. You can't connect to wireless networks. You can't use internet. So you have to think about using an offline application or an offline experience. So this is something that should be defined in the beginning of the process, because imagine that you are thinking about develop something that should be all the time online, and then when you get to the place where you are going to use that, there is no internet connection over there, or even worse, there is an equipment over there that is damaging the internet connection that you have over there. So you do have Wi-Fi connected over there, but you have some magnetic fields over the place that doesn't allow you to connect or something like this. So define the target and use cases, and by doing that, you understand exactly what you're doing and where you can implement that as well. To tackle that logistic problem that I mentioned, you can find local resellers to buy your equipment, and also you can find Amazon as well. Amazon is the easiest way for a lot of different countries. You just go over there, put your credit card there, and then you receive your headset in a couple of days or week. But finding a local reseller could be better because you begin to develop a local relationship with that reseller. So they, as a big reseller, they can also support you in a contact with the manufacturer. They can support you in training. They can support you with the guarantee of the equipment. So there's a lot of benefits by buying this from local resellers. That's why it's a little bit more expensive to buy from resellers than rather than Amazon, for example. But if you are a big company, probably you won't be able to buy this from Amazon. You will have to have local resellers connected to the company, and they are the ones that are going to provide those kind of equipment for you. It is a good solution, but you have to research locally, which is better for you to pay a little bit more if you have fund enough, but have a support from their side to buy more equipment or to have it from that, or to buy from Amazon that is cheaper, faster, but you don't have any kind of support unless you want to return that equipment from to them. Think about and research about it as well. Talking about the return of investment and KPI, again, the solution is KPI, KPI, KPI. You have to measure everything that you're doing over there, all the users, uh, all the usage of the experiences, of course, respecting GDPR. So you have to be mindful that all the information that you are collecting from the experiences are going to help you and respecting the person who is using that experiences. Be mindful about that. You have to use, you have to measure so you can have a good return of investment because you're going to have a way, the right path to do and understand how this application or experiences are helping your colleagues or clients. And then about the funding part that I mentioned before, one of the best way to think of is instead of thinking about solo projects, one-time projects, think about processes. You can think about processes where you can implement that, because one time that that you invest and put some XR equipment or application inside of a process, probably that process is going to run for the rest of the life. So unless you have a problem in the process, they are going to use that application or equipment for the rest of their lives. If you're doing this for a one-time project or a proof of concept or something like this, again, this is coming from an investment fund, and probably you won't have another one unless you can prove that the second one is going to bring some kind of results. So think more in processes and less in projects. You can think about a project to develop something to be used in a process. That's okay. But what I'm meaning here is that uh, try not to develop something that's going to be used like one time and one time only. Even if you're developing some kind of projects for marketing purposes, for example, in those kinds of experiences you have, you should think about on how to develop something that can be used again in the next campaign. So, for example, you can think about that you're going only to change the product that you are showing over there, or think only about I don't know the place that you're showing in the experiences. So this is really, really important because the base of the process can the project of the experience or the application can be used again in the future. So in the future, in the next experience, it won't cost that much again to do this. And this is really interesting and easy to understand when you think about a training solution, for example. In some of those training experiences, you develop the first time developing is going to be a little bit more expensive because you'll have to build everything from scratch. But then the upcoming sessions, the upcoming years, or the upcoming content is going to come much more easier and cheaper because the basis of that training solution were already developed in the first session, in the first uh, development. So this is something that you should think about on how to reuse part of your development because this is going to help you very much with the further developments. And now, one another important thing that the gaming industry is really is using for a long time, but it's not that common in other areas. So the role of an evangelist or something that is always talking about that, about XR solutions, and how they can help you with with that. So communication is always important when you are developing, when you have an experience, when you have an application, because people usually don't understand what is XR. Uh, some of them, or most of the people that we know, don't know what virtual reality is, or don't know what augmented reality is. So we need to work on communication because people must understand what it is. They don't need to understand what technically it is. They need to understand the experiences, what is going to come when you use virtual reality or augmented reality. What's that all about? One thing that I think that is really important is we don't need to explain technically for them. And the best day it will be the day that I don't need to explain what AR is and VR is. One good example is Pokemon Go. A lot of people know what Pokemon Go is, but a lot of people don't know that this is augmented reality. And they don't need to know. That's the most important part of this kind of communication. So another problem and thing that we should be aware of is about the public use cases. If you go to Google, for example, and start to search for VR or augmented virtual reality or augmented reality examples, you will have a lot of different examples over there. But most of them are from companies who are selling some kind of services or selling some experiences with VR or AR. It's really, really rare to find examples or white papers or free white papers or free videos with examples of what has been developing or what is in use inside a lot of different companies. And this, a person who is working with that can support you with that because as a person who is always evangelizing and talking and studying about this, could be easy for them to find and tackle those kind of communications and understand well where you can get and find public use cases. And here, to have the public use cases is really, really important because for VR and AR, it's really, really easier when you explain and show a video and show an image of what is the experiences. So if you don't have access to that kind of material, you will have a more difficulty to explain what the solution brings in the future. Another thing that we could do is run events. In the events, and then I mean events to evangelize, or I mean events to talk to the people and tell the people, tell the audience what is that, what is AR, what is VR. But don't think about being boring as I'm being here, only showing texts. Show the solution, put a QR code in the presentation, and let people try augmented reality over there. Try to have some headsets over there and let people use the virtual reality, because they will only understand if they see a video and try it for themselves. So when you're doing some kind of events to promote the technology, to promote your solution, your experience, your application, invite people to try it, because if they don't try, they won't understand the benefits of using that kind of solution. Build a community around your application, around your experience. You have to do that. We are here today because we have a community over here. And this is really important because if you don't have, if you're working in a big company, for example, or even in a smaller one, you might have people developing things in different places, but if they don't talk to each other, they won't know that they are developing in different places the same, sometimes the same thing. So if you build a community around this subject, around XR, around AR and VR, people will know what's happening. And then when you develop together, you get stronger because you have more people doing different things, connecting with different people, bringing expertise from the outside of your company to inside of your company, and doing the other way. So also getting experiences from your company and sharing with different communities. Community is a really, really strong thing that we should take advantage of, not only building our communities inside our companies, but also connecting our communities with other communities, because this is really important, because you will find the person who can solve the problem that you are having by developing something that probably had the same problem a year ago and managed to solve that. So always think about community building, because this is something that will help you to explore more about the subject and talk more about your experience. And to coming to the end, do and build a knowledge base. It's really important as well for if you have a team that is always changing, if you have people that is leaving the company, new developers that are coming only for a short time. If you do have a knowledge base over there, it's really, really important, because if a newcomer come to the company, he or she will be able to read the content or something that you develop over there and in your knowledge base. So that is really, really important to have as well. And this evangelist will help you with the wow factor. For those who doesn't know about the wow factor, this is something that usually the persons that are using VR for the first time, when they put the headset, they will say, "Whoa, this is incredible!" And this is the moment that you should hook that person and show to that person what are the benefits of using the Kaiser solution. So it's really important to have this evangelist or this person who is going to share the content about XR, share experiences and share applications throughout the company, and then use this to show about the wow factor to everybody who never used this before. Here I'm going to leave some companies and applications that are using XR technology. And by doing that, I'm showing you that you don't need to develop your own content in some cases or some processes or some projects, because you have a lot of different companies that already sell this as a solution. So those companies are in those different areas that I presented before. Some examples, and these are some examples that you could just visit their website to understand what they are doing over there. What are they suggesting by doing this, and how can they help you? And that shows that you don't need a developer in your team right now. You can hire the services by signing up for the service, and then try this for a while. If you like it, you keep going with them. If you want more than that, you can hire a developer to do that for your company. So this is going to be recorded here. Just take a look at those names, see if you want some kind of solution to that areas, and then visit their websites. And then I would go to the end. So let's go for the Q&A. Thank you very much. Oh, you can join me on LinkedIn if you want. Thank you very much. Yeah, you are muted, Saskia.
I'm muted. I'm so sorry. Thank you so
Don't
much,
worry.
Anisio, for this great and super not boring session. And we actually got some questions from the audience. So Bruno here, he asks about your KPIs. Are there easy to track KPIs you recommend as a starting point?
Well, the first thanks, Saskia, thanks, Bruno, for the question. I think that the first thing that you can try to measure that is really, really easy is how much time the persons or the clients or the customers are using that solution or application that you are developing. And the interaction of that solution inside the solution. So this is quite easy for developers to do. You can get this in a report without even knowing the name of the user, or if it's a man or a woman or a child using over there. So these are the two basic KPIs of how long they are using and what is the interaction. So what are the interactions? So which buttons that the person pressed, or what was the result of using that kind of solution over there. These are the basic ones, but they are not going to, and this, for example, can prove to your boss or to your client that you had like 100 persons using that solution, and then they click it like 300 times that same button, and that button could give more information regarding that. You can think as well in building like heat maps for the person that is using a virtual reality solution. You can develop a heat map inside the solution. Imagine that you have a VR solution that's going to show a place. You can build a heat map of where most of the users went in that virtual tour, which place they stayed at most of the time, or if they were looking to one place. So you can have a lot of different KPIs, and this is going to vary according to the demand that you have, the project that you have, and most important, to the use case that you have over there.
Awesome, thank you. Said, do you have any questions? You're muted, by the way. Said, you're muted.
Okay. Sorry for that.
No.
I have no question.
Okay, so Bruno, I think Bruno was talking about the list of companies that we have here. So it's going to
Yeah,
be recorded in the session, so you can take a look over there. And then if you need, you can also reach me on LinkedIn as well and just send a message asking for some other examples as well.
perfect. Well, then I would say thank you so much,
You're
Anisio.
welcome. You're
And we
welcome.
will see you later, also as a moderator. And thank you for the great session.
Okay,
And
thank you very
see you
much.
soon. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Saskia. Thank you, Zaid. Bye bye.